Yes, sir.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Hearty welcome to Jnanarjane Empowering Excellence. Friends, today we have joined for our Wednesday study circle. Today, to enlighten us, to impart knowledge, we are really lucky to have a multi-talented personality, CA Dr. Gopal Krishna Raju from Chennai. He has a multi qualifications and a highly talented chartered accountant, and we are really lucky to have him here to the on the session pre-pack insolvency resolution process. Friends, on behalf of Bangalore branch and on behalf of all the participants, wholehearted welcome to CA Dr. Gopal Krishna Raju. Hearty welcome, sir. Friends, I'll take a minute or two to update you about our Bangalore branch this month and the coming month, some of the programs. This month, on 28th of this month, we have a half a day seminar on new companies amendment on Schedule 3, along with the revised CARO. CA Gururaj Acharya is going to impart knowledge in that session. Please register for that program. And next month, we have 4 workshops we have lined up. On the 1st of June itself, we are starting standards on auditing workshop for 4 days, 1st to 4th. And from 6th to 9th, again 4 days, in-days workshop is going to happen. So I request you to register for both the program. Those who are in audit and assurance practice, this is a must-attend program. Both standards on auditing and in-days, both are badly required for those who are into audit and assurance practice. Please register for that program. In fact, standards on auditing is a free 4 days workshop. It is available free, friends. Please register. And from 10 to 12, 3 days, succession planning workshop is there, 3 days program. Please register for that also. A nominal fee of 300 only you need to pay. Please register. It is worth much more than that. Friends, from 16th onwards, 6 days workshop on international taxation is there. For that also, I request you to register 6 days workshop on international taxation. In addition to our regular Wednesday study circle, please visit regularly bangalore.icai.org for all the updates about the new programs. Friends, I just want to inform you, Sikasa Bangalore also quite active now. They are also conducting programs for their students. So tomorrow we have a tax audit under section 44AB. CA Deepak Chopra is going to impart his knowledge on that. I request register your students. Again, it's a free program. Register your students. Your students are free now. Let them learn. Once they come back, they will be ready to do your tax audit. And on 29th, GST registration and reverse charge mechanism, again a Sikasa program. Kindly register for that also, your students. Let them learn. Once they come back to the office, they will be ready to do all your pending work, friends. Again, 4th and 5th, 2 more in GST and income tax program is available for students. And in future, every Saturday evening program will be there for your students. For training of students, it's a great opportunity for all the members. Just look into those programs and make it compulsory for students to register. It's a free program and available virtually. Just 2 hours they need to spend to learn so many new things from experienced chartered accountants. They are going to impart their knowledge free. It is available free. Make sure to your students attend those programs and learn a lot. With that note, once again, hearty welcome to each one of you. Hearty welcome to CA Dr. Gopal Krishna Raju sir. So I'll, since the secretary is not available, I'll only to introduce our specialist speaker, CA Dr. Gopal Krishna Raju, a practicing chartered accountant, a registered insolvency professional and registered valuer from Chennai. So he has many qualifications. He is the company secretary. He is limited insolvency examination, insolvency bankruptcy board of India, and associate member of the Institute of Cost Accountants, with All India rank in intermediate evaluation, associate member of Institute of Company Secretary, and he has done his MPhil in management from Tamil Nadu Open University, a qualified information systems auditor, holds 8 NSE certificates in financial market. And he is nominated Finance and Taxation Panel member of FICCI Tamil Nadu State Council, Chairman, Valuation Standards Board, All India Institute of Valuers Foundation, Valuation Standards Board, Institution of Valuers, and Academic Board, Department of Commerce, Loyola College, Chennai. So many more he's a nominated member in many more prestigious institutions in Chennai. With that brief, with his permission, a brief profile also of his, and he is well known across India. With that note, once again, hearty welcome to CA Gopal Krishna Raju sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chairman. Very good evening, friends. At the outset, let me thank the Chairman of Bengaluru, one of the most vibrant branches and the largest branch of our Institute of Chartered Accountants. It's always, I must here make one small observation. Till last till my last term in the regional council, the total number of, always there used to be a race between Chennai and Bengaluru. Now the race is always with respect to the number of chartered accountants between Chennai and Bengaluru. And always Chennai used to be the lead, and Bangalore, slowly they were, the gap was actually minimized, like the gap between petrol and diesel. And today what has happened, diesel has overtook petrol, and today Bengaluru number of chartered accountants are greater than the number of chartered accountants in Chennai.
So, I'm not aware of that. It's the news.
This is a fact actually. And many of the programs which Bengaluru branch they used to conduct, they used to be the pioneer in even for SARC programs and even for other regions and for other branches. So that is the, and their newsletter used to be very, very well designed. I must compliment that. Their newsletter is one of the, it is packed, so much of information will be packed, and the design will be very nice. So, and it will be very nice to read, nice to look at it. So that is the kind of effort, and the small aspect also they focus. That is the reason I can give many number of points with respect to Bengaluru branch. These are some of the significant points I want to share to members at large. Now coming to today's topic, I must compliment the entire team of executive committee chaired by CABT Shetty, that this topic is a new topic. On 4th of April 2021, 4th of April 2021, there was a notification. There was a huge, what do you call it, as with a great pomp. This was an expected amendment. This pre-pack was an expected amendment. I'll give you the backdrop why this pre-pack came. So then we will have a fair idea when I take you into this particular subject. And especially we always see that our CA final students, when the insolvency bankruptcy code is part of their corporate law paper, the total number of marks is 16 marks. It is mandatory. They cannot say no to that question. So 2 questions are mandatory, and the level at which this subject is developing, maturing. 2017, if you look at the question papers of CA final itself, we will know how the subject has matured so far. And next November examination, this pre-pack will be included in their November exam. And this itself is a subject, I will say a mini IBC, So when I used to be a student of CA intermediate, first time when I'm opening the income tax book, I asked my father, so which chapter I should study for income tax to have a uh, grip on that particular subject. So he said the most difficult topic to understand, of course, easy from a concept, but with respect to the complexity, is capital gains. So try to have a grip on capital gains, word by word, you try to interpret. Then automatically the entire income tax, you will be in a position to understand and appreciate. So similarly, entire insolvency bankruptcy code, if we need to understand PPIRP, this is in short, pre-pack insolvency resolution process. This PPIRP alone, it is only 16 sections. They have introduced a new chapter. So actually, there are only five parts, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the second part is corporate insolvency resolution process. In that corporate insolvency resolution process, we have actually the 7 chapters. And out of 7 chapters, between third and fourth chapter, they inserted a chapter called 3A, 3 capital A. And they made 16 sections they brought in. And not only sections, within 5 days. So 4th April, the ordinance came. And 9th April, rule came, regulation came, the limit with respect to applicability of PPIRP, everything came. Now, why this PPIRP? To whom it is applicable? What kind of, say, the corporate applicants it is applicable? So, I want to make one observation that this, if at all you put a question to me, if they have to insert chapter 3A, why did they insert this chapter between 2 and 3? Point number 1. Point number 2, if you look at where this section is placed, there itself you will get an idea why it is placed. You know, it is placed just above fast track corporate insolvency process. What is chapter 4? Chapter 4 is fast track. Fast track CIRP. And what the chapter 3A? Pre-pack insolvency resolution process. Exactly just above fast track they have kept it. Now, fast track is your normal CIRP is 180 days. Fast track is 90 days. Now, fast track itself says the amount, the capital should be this much, and the small companies only they can go. But people didn't prefer fast track CIRP process. Until date, fast track CIRP process is part of the subject, a part of the code, but practically fast track insolvency process, nobody has initiated it. So even people have tried it, but they prefer to go under the normal route of CIRP. Now the question is, why this pre-pack? I will come to you with 2 most important points. And with that, I will share the entire screen and then go one by one. The first aspect with respect to, I'll just share the screen. Yeah. Sorry. Where am I? No, no. Am I? So this is here. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Mm. Yes. This is your chapter 3A. Chapter 3. Now, why this particular chapter came? You must first appreciate this. This chapter 3A is just above fast track insolvency resolution process. Why? What is the purpose? Why this pre-pack has to come? And what is meant by pre-pack? Point number one, there is a term called social stigma. I repeat the word social stigma. Now, what is the social stigma with respect to the normal CIRP process? In a normal CIRP process, there are two very, very important things for us small and medium enterprises. I am a private limited company and I have defaulted for above 1 lakh. Now the limit has been increased from 24th March 2020 to 1 crore. Let us presume it is 1 lakh. That is before 24th of March 2020. Now, once CIRP is ordered, what are the two things that will happen? Number one, there will be an advertisement in the newspaper that so and so company has defaulted and insolvency is initiated. Number one. Number two, my control, the management of the affairs of the corporate debtor. The management of the affairs of the corporate debtor. As a managing director, as a director, my control will be gone because I am suspended from the board of directors. So, moment I am suspended from the board of directors, I don't have the signatory authority. I am not an authorized signatory, and my authorization will go to the person appointed by my lord. So, who is the court officer, the honorable resolution professional. Now, bank account gone, company management of the affairs gone, my name is tarnished in the newspaper, and if it is a listed company, the price will fall down skyrocketed. So many things are there for your information, and especially if I am a micro, small, and medium enterprise. This is the moment an application is about to be is actually application is made. Okay, application is made is what is called as till the date of admission. It is always a tension because once it is admitted, CRP starts and these two will happen. So how to stop this? It is not you cannot stop this. And they say the advertisement has to be made within 3 days. So this is a very, very important point we need to note down. Nowhere it will be there. And I am sure some of the, you can discuss with the practitioners, especially those who are in NCLT practice. They will definitely vouch the kind of emotional aspects these two things will have. Now, I'm going to give two benefits to micro, small, and medium enterprise. No. You can manage the affairs of the company. Oh, wow. I'm happy. That means your bank account will be with you. Thank you. Second, no. We will not advertise in newspaper. Oh, then there is a word called public announcement in PPIRP. To whom you will announce? I will only announce to the creditors. To whom I have to pay? All the creditors. So when I say creditors, it is financial creditors, it is secured creditors, it is unsecured creditors. The very interesting thing is there is a separate form number where the list of creditors have to be prepared. You have to prepare financial creditors, okay, and operational creditors and other creditors. You have to prepare. And again, out of financial creditor, who are related financial creditor, unrelated. Operation creditor who are unrelated and related. So other creditors related and unrelated. You have to classify this. So because voting, whenever the voting power is given, only the unrelated voting power 66%, that only you have to take. So that is why that is very important. So point to be noted, there is no advertisement. You will only give the public announcement only to creditors. Okay. And they have made one more very interesting point that if you have a website, you have to publish on the website if any, the word is called if any, of the corporate debtor and the board. And the board. Board means Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India, because all the cases, because how people will know? You go to the board's website, and in the board's website, the order will be put. So this is the aspect which is the first foremost liking aspect, or the people want to go inside. So the Jurassic Park gate, it has to open. Then only the car can go inside. So how it will open? You need to actually have a liking to go inside and see. So these are the two first major aspects. Okay, good. Now let me first take you to some of the interesting points to start with, and slowly I will go. And I understand we have a good number of participation, and I will request the members to kindly share your queries, put your queries in the chat box or Q&A box. I will take your queries at the end of this session. Now the time is 6:23. I will go up to 7:15 maximum, and I will try to answer all your questions. And I will also, those who wish to actually share your, what do you call, your thoughts, your queries also, I will identify, and you can unmute yourself and you can speak also. Very good. So let us go in a very formal understanding of this. The purpose of this session is to appreciate this new pre-pack insolvency resolution process, and I will call this as PPIRP. Okay, and I want to make one observation here, very important observation, that 1, 2, 3, three major points I'm going to share with you. Okay, three major points. Social stigma is one aspect I made it. 1, 2, 3. What is the 1, 2, 3? First one is your public announcement, and I have given the answer to that public announcement. What is it? No. Newspaper advertisement will not be there. Second, the management. Wow. The management of the affairs. That means the management of the affairs will continue with the board. Okay, good. Third most important aspect, and this is very, very important. This is very, very important. All of you, if you have been witnessing that, okay, this is PPIRP is what is it? It is also one insolvency resolution process. No, one very, very important aspect I'm going to share it with you, and that is called the report of the IP. I want to make this word, report of the insolvency professional. Wow. Report of the insolvency professional. This report will be signed by the insolvency professional. I want to make this point very clear. Regulation 17 says there is a report which has to be signed by the insolvency professional. Now, what is this report? What is section 54B? What is that report called? Form number P8. This is very significant because when the application, generally all the resolution professionals' work will start in CIRP only after admission. But in PPIRP, major work starts before, and you have to charge fees for it. And for your information, resolution professional has to certify. I want to make one very important observation. Please look at this. This is the regulation. I'm sorry, this is the regulation. This is the regulation. And here, the form number P8. Please look at the form number P8. This is report of the insolvency. This is the most important thing I want to say. Different, totally different. The third aspects. I propose for appointment of RP, hereby declare and affirm. Oh my God. This is more than an audit report. This is more than an audit report. I'm telling you. So therefore, my dear resolution professionals have to collect lot of informations, and only my brothers and sister professional, my professional brothers and sister chartered accountants will be in a position to help insolvency professionals to sign this report. Lot of information he has to give. Please look at the word here. I hereby confirm. The business will be done by the micro, small, and medium enterprises, but the confirmation has to be given by the insolvency professional. Okay. On what? So many aspects. So many aspects. One of the very important aspect is creditors representing have approved. The creditors have approved and the proposal for initiation. Amount of default is within the limit. I have examined the plan. Please look at these wordings. Very, very, very important wordings. You cannot go back in this. No, I'm only giving an opinion based on the information and explanation. There is no word called opinion. There is no word called based on information and explanation. You are giving it is almost like a certificate. Okay. I hereby confirm. I have examined. Every wordings are put. So I will say, and report of the insolvency professional is above an audit report. Is above an audit report. And so this is the third point I want to share it with you, that the role of chartered accountants. The role of chartered accountants, the role of insolvency professional, before you make an application, it's a lot of work is there. And that time is called 90 days. This 90 days time is a very important time. And in this 90 days time, you have to make an application to, so from the date you start with your, you give a declaration and you appoint an IP, okay, the proposed IP. Within 90 days, a base resolution plan has to be, a plan has to be prepared, and then application has to be filed. Report of the IP has to be sought. So that means it is a totally a different aspect. So that means that is why the word is called pre-pack. What you are going to do in pre-pack? Okay. So, and remember, friends, my lord is going to totally depend on insolvency professional, and insolvency professional is going to totally depend on professionals. So this is the first three things which I want to share it with all of you before I go into the subject. Now, in this subject, I will share it with you one very interesting point, that this this particular there was an amendment that was brought. I want to make one point. There was an amendment that was brought. Sorry for this. So this is the amendment. So ordinance, fourth. So this is the amendment that was brought. And please understand, since the parliament is not in session and the president is satisfied that the circumstances exist which render is necessary for him to take immediate action, this has been brought as an ordinance. Okay. So ordinance has come. Wow. Now, what is the special about this ordinance? Okay. Now, this ordinance will come immediately. Okay. Now, it is applicable for whom? It is applicable for whom? This is applicable for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Now, please look at this. Okay. So, this is the word. It has impacted, the COVID-19 has impacted, especially micro, small, and medium enterprises, and they are pushed to financial distress. So today, when micro, small, and medium enterprises have to collect money from corporates, okay, have to collect money from corporates. Good. Now, first of all, who should be a corporate applicant? Okay, who should be a corporate applicant? To whom it is applicable? This is the first thing. And already one CRP process is there. What to be done? This is the first clarity I'm going to bring. Okay. So first, let us understand one thing very clear, that I am dealing with MSMEs. Okay, I am an MSME. I am dealing with MSME. Okay. Now, should the financial creditor be MSME or the corporate debtor should be an MSME. So this is the first clarity I want to bring it. This clarity is given to you in section number 54A1. Okay, that is the first. This chapter 3A has actually 16 sections only. And in 16 sections, 54A to 54B. The first point I want to clarify is to whom this is applicable. An application for initiating pre-packed insolvency resolution process may be made in respect of a corporate debtor classified as. So first point is this application for initiating may be made in respect of a corporate debtor classified as MSME. Now, what is the meaning of it? Should I have to get myself registered with MSME and get that Udyam registration number? No. They don't say that you should be registered. You should only be classified. So that means, as per the MSME definition, okay, which has been recently amended, this is the recently amended definition, which is on 26th of June 2020. This is your section 7 recently amended definition. Your micro, small and medium, you have to satisfy both the condition. What is the condition? Investment in plant and machinery as well as your turnover. As well as your turnover and your turnover. Now, this connect between investment in plant and machinery and turnover is 5 times. 1:5. Say 1 into 5. 1 multiplied by 5. Now, please look at this. For a micro, 1 crore, less than 1 crore. So 1 crore and 1 crore multiplied by 5 is 5 crore. So that means I must satisfy that it should not exceed 1 crore. Turnover also doesn't exceed 5 crore. Both the condition. Now, for example, my investment is less than 1 crore. My turnover crosses 5 crore. Then I'll go to the next level. Then I become small. Now, this small you have to multiply 1 into 10 times. 10 times is small. 1 into 10 times is small. And small into 5 times is medium. Okay. 1 into 10 times is small and small into 5 times is medium. So 1 crore into 10 is 10 crore. 10 crore into 5 is 50 crore. And as I told you, it is 5 times of the investment is your turnover. So if your investment in plant and machinery 10 crore, 5 times is 50 crore. And if your investment in plant and machinery is 50 crore for medium enterprise, 5 times of that is 250 crore. That's all. It's very simple. And for your information, this 250 crore is synced with your income tax concessional tax rate applicable for corporates also, if the turnover doesn't exceed 250 crores. So it is in sync with that. So this is the first one. But I want to make one more observation to you, that when you make an application, now who can apply? Here also I want to make one uniqueness. There are many uniqueness in PPIRP. Okay. One is the social stigma, that public announcement and management. And second, the third point, what I said is the role of chartered accountants are huge work is there. Please wait, I'm going to tell one by one. What is it? Lot of work. And I'm going to, you can actually make a separate board here. All the help, support, documentation with respect to pre-pack preparation of insolvency resolution process, preparation of resolution plan, and support to insolvency professional with respect to documentation. Everything can be done. That can be a separate cell in a chartered accountant firm. Now, I was referring to this application. Who can make an application? Generally, in a CIRP, the financial creditor can initiate. Okay, they can make an application. There is a separate applic form number, and application to adjudicating authority have a separate form number. Similar, operation creditor can file. Okay, and corporate debtor himself can file. But here it is pre-pack, means you, before you make an application, you sit with the financial creditor and then you arrive at the design. You arrive at the design, what you are going to do. Okay, maybe that can be updated. It can be tuned. Furthermore, plans also you can invite. But when you are going to my lord, please allow us to resolve as a pre-pack. That means pre-pack means where is your pack? What you have already decided. Okay, what you already decided. So after I order for resolution, over the table you again put that plan, and you may try to optimize it, or somebody else may come and even say, no, 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 I will give a better offer. You may go for that offer also. Nothing wrong, because ultimately commercial wisdom. So what to be noted here? OC and FC cannot initiate, I repeat the word, cannot initiate the CIRP, because I am taking you to 54C. 54C is the initiation of CIRP. Please look at this 54A. Now I'll take you to that 54C. This is 54B. Look at 54C. Who can application to initiate the pre-pack? Application to initiate PPIRP. Corporate debtor meets the requirement. I'll come to the conditions. A corporate applicant thereof may file an application with the adjudicating authority for India. And here adjudicating authority means I am coming under part 2 of the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. For part 2, the adjudicating authority is only National Company Law Tribunal. So I have to only go before my lord National Company Law Tribunal to make an application. So the application can only be filed by the corporate applicant. That means corporate debtor. Okay, point to be noted. Now, so first point, I should be classified as an MSME. That is what 54A1 says. Now, just because I am classified, okay, an application may be made by a corporate debtor classified as an MSME. So if it is classified, it means how will you prove it? How will you prove? So that is why I am taking you to the application. Please look at the application. This is the application. Where is it? Sorry. This is regulation. I must go to the rules. So this is your rules. And in this rules, please look at the application. There is only one form. There are only 4 rules. 4 rules, and application fees is 15,000 rupees. And form number 1, application by corporate applicant under chapter 3A. Here in this form, you have actually 16 annexures. My God, that is why I said preparing this form itself is a very big professional opportunity. Okay, and only, and you need to understand one thing, that till the date of the application, 14 days before, you have to prepare the statement of affairs. My God, you have to prepare a statement of affairs and attach. You have to prepare a statement of affairs. But please look at the attachments here. In the attachments, look at this. 14 days. You have to prepare a statement of affairs made up to a date not earlier than 14 days from the date of application. Okay, including, okay, namely all this. So that means you need to prepare. So a statement of affairs made up to a date not earlier than. So that means if your application date is, what is today's date? Today's date is 26. Okay. So today's date is 26. So 26 minus 14. So that means 12th. So you have to prepare your statement of affairs up to 12th of May 2021. And then only you have to make an application today. Okay. So it can be only old by 2 weeks, not more than that. So I'm just giving you an interesting point that even for making an application, you need accounts. You need accounts. Okay. So, and here in this, there are 4 parts are there. In part number 1, item number 8, you go. This is part number 1, item number 8. Details of corporate debtor under 54A1. Just now we discussed. You need to give Udyam registration number. So that means you must be registered. Or investment in plant and machinery and turnover. And you have to attach proof. You have to attach proof. That means you need to get a certificate from a professional or your audited accounts. Or if it is a Udyam registration number, attach a copy of the latest Udyam registration number. Very good. So any one. So it is not mandatory that you must be registered under MSME portal. But if you are not registered also, you are eligible to be a corporate applicant, but you need to attach a proof of the investment and the turnover. Maybe the proof is your audited statement, or better to take a professional certificate. See how many places you need to take the help of professionals. I'm just giving one by one. So point number one, MSME. Point number two. So just now I'm an MSME. So that means if I am not a micro, small and medium enterprises, PPIRP is not applicable to me. So let us be very clear about it. So whether I have to be registered or not necessary. But if it is registered, fine. I am not registered, also fine. Now coming to the next point. Is there any limit? Yes. The limit is notified on 9th of, this is the limit notified. Where is it? Yes. So this is the limit notified on 9th April 2021. So where the central government hereby specifies 10 lakhs as the minimum amount of default. Wow. So the limit is 10 lakhs. That means if the default amount is 1.5 crores, okay. If the default amount is 1.5 crores, should I have to go to CIRP or under pre-pack? You can go for pre-pack also. So it is only says minimum is 10 lakhs. They don't say maximum amount. Now, should it be one creditor below 10 lakhs? 4 creditors put together about 10 lakhs. Can one creditor apply on behalf of 4 creditors? Yes, possible. Is it possible? Whether creditors can apply? So point here is creditors are not going to apply here, unlike your CIRP. It is who is going to apply? The corporate debtor is going to apply. So it doesn't matter, is it one creditor is below 10 lakhs and all. Total default should be above 10 lakhs. Matter khatam. So it can be one creditor, 10 creditors, hundreds of creditors. The total default should be about 10 lakhs. But now the applicable date is 4th of April. After that, this is PPIRP is applicable. Okay. Now coming to the another interesting aspect with respect to this particular PPIRP, there is a restriction. Can any company apply for PPIRP? For example, last year only there was a CIRP that was completed. I have already defaulted with one particular bank, and that was settled. Okay, so recently only that CIRP process was over. Now please look at 54A2. I repeat, guys, this is 54A2. Without prejudice, an application for initiating pre-packaged insolvency resolution process may be made in respect of a corporate debtor, okay, who commits a default subject to the following condition. Okay, what is the condition? That it has not undergone pre-packaged insolvency resolution process. It has not undergone. This wording is very, very important. Or completed CIRP. With respect to CIRP, the word undergone is not there. It should be complete. But here it is called undergone. I have undergone the pains. I have undergone the process. Why? Because there is no word called termination in CIRP. Once CIRP starts, it is like opening the floodgates. Is it possible to stop? No. It will go. It will gush. But PPIRP is called undergone. This is the word called undergone. Here the word is called completed CIRP during a period of 3 years preceding the initiation date. So 3 years. That means recent 2 years back, if you look at the word completed CIRP process, as the case may during the period of 3 years preceding the initiation. What do you mean by completed? Resolution plan should be implemented. Okay. And then it should be what do you call it as submitted, that the resolution plan has been satisfied with respect to the plan, and all the as per the plan it has been implemented. So till that point, that's called the date. From that date, 3 years. Okay. Completed CIRP process during the period of 3 years preceding the initiation date, or not undergone pre-pack insolvency resolution process. So if I have undergone a pre-pack now and I want to go for one more pre-pack, okay, not possible. Only after 3 years you can go for pre-pack. And when you are undergoing a pre-pack, is it possible to terminate in between? No. The creditors decide during that preparation of the resolution plan, base resolution plan itself, they decide, no, let us not go for it. Let us terminate it. Even after admission of the pre-pack, before the, what do you call it, as resolution plan, they can terminate. For example, why should we go to my lord and get an order and then settle ourselves? We will settle ourselves. It's Apas. We will try to settle. Now, please understand, when you go to court, you have to give the entire list of creditors. You have to give the entire list of creditors. This list of creditors is a very interesting point. I want to share it with you with respect to PPIRP. What is that point with respect to PPIRP? List of creditors is, in CIRP, you put an advertisement, invite claims. Here there is no question called inviting claims. Here there is no question called inviting claims. The list of claims, okay, the list will be given by the corporate debtor itself. Wow. So that has to be the wordings given in the regulation. It is called as, should I have to verify the claim? What is the wordings that is given? It is called determination amount of claim. That's all. I will only confirm the claim. As a resolution professional, I will only confirm with respect to the document that has been attached. Why? Because this has already undergone the process of a report of the insolvency professional also. So I will start from that particular report of the insolvency professional. This is very, very crucial difference between CIRP and the PPIRP. What is the crucial difference? Their claim has to come and then claim has to be verified. The word verify is there in CIRP, but the word verify is not there in PPIRP. What is the word is there? It is called confirm and then inform the creditors. That's all. List will be given by the corporate debtor. Resolution professional has to only confirm and inform the creditors. That's all. Should I have to verify? No. The word is not called verified here. Very interesting. And very, there is no necessary. Why the advertisement is given? 21 days I'll give, you have to give the claim, and you don't give the claim within 21 days. Here that Jagada Jamela is not there. There is a pre-pack before itself. And please note down one point, very important here. The corporate debtor has to be true. In case there are 18 creditors, only 14 creditors list is given to me. I will confirm the 14 creditors. 4 is left out. If 4 is left out by the corporate debtor, the 4 can go to court. They can invite the jurisdiction of High Court, and remember, the respective debtors will be facing the consequences of a criminal consequences, because for defrauding the creditors, very, very sensitive. And they have also brought a amendment here, not only with respect to 54A, they have inserted a section with respect to penalty for these aspects also. And that section is none other than, there is a penalty which shall not be less than 1 lakh rupees, you may extend to 1 crore rupees. 1 crore rupees, my God. Okay. And fraudulent management of corporate debtor during pre-package and insolvency resolution process. 67A and 77A. 67A, 77A is inserted. Okay. Punishment for offenses relating to pre-package and insolvency resolution process. Remember this. This is very serious. So that is why I need not say it is true and fair. The true and correct, there is no word called fair at all. True and correct. Who? From the corporate debtor side. So whatever corporate debtor list has given, the resolution professional has to confirm. Now, if the 4 is not given, will resolution professional will be held responsible? No. Please understand this. Who will be held responsible? Corporate debtor. But resolution professional will be held responsible for the list of creditors that is with him. He is supposed to actually go through that. I'll come to that particular aspect called report of the IP. Very, very important aspect. Okay, good. Now, here it has not undergone. So this is with respect to the conditions, limits are over. Now, how do we start this entire process? How do we start? Okay, we have understood, we have got a fair information about all. How do I start this? This process has to be started with a section called 54. Okay, 54A to F. This is 54A to F. This is the starting point. This is the starting. From here only it starts. These are all conditions. Okay. The starting point is here. This is the starting trigger. Okay. And this particular point, I want to make one observation. If you look at the voluntary liquidation process, what is the difference between liquidation and voluntary liquidation? In liquidation, after CIRP, if there is no resolution, you are pushed to liquidation. What is voluntary liquidation? You must be a solvent company. You cannot be an insolvent company. That means you have more assets and less liability. And liability is lesser than your assets. Then what is the starting point for a voluntary liquidation? The starting point for a voluntary liquidation is the majority of the directors make a declaration. This is there in voluntary liquidation. Now, where is it? I'll just share with you the same voluntary liquidation. This is 59. Please look at a declaration by majority of directors. Wow, this is the starting point. Same. So that is why PPIRP is voluntary. It is not somebody is forcing you. Nobody is forcing you here. You want to settle amicably. You don't want that jamela of public advertisement, suspension of board of directors, bank account operation, seizure. You don't want this. You want to amicably settle. In the process, you can have haircut also. That is that is different. Okay, the creditors may get a haircut. That is different. But the interesting part is the starting point is declaration. And here in this particular PPIRP, I want to share with you two things. There are two declarations. My God, what is it? What you are saying? One declaration, another declaration. Oh, what are those two declarations? Two declaration, guys. It is not that simple. And this is you must actually make the directors understand the importance of this declaration. Okay, the importance of this declaration. So what is the first declaration? What is the second declaration? So I want your complete attention here, guys. Okay, so now please look at so what is this declaration? Majority of the directors, as the case may be, have made a declaration in such a form as may be specified. Okay. Inter alia, that the corporate debtor shall file an application for initiating pre-packaged insolvency resolution process within a definite period of time not exceeding 90 days. So this is the first. Okay, we are going for a pre-pack insolvency resolution. This is a declaration they have to give. And that the pre-pack insolvency is not being initiated to defraud any person, because they are giving a declaration and intentionally they have missed out any creditors, because who will give the list? Resolution professional here has one very important role, and that role is the report of the IP. That is the most important role, I'm telling you. Once the order is done, once the order of PPIRP is done, resolution professional's role is very, very limited. It is only, I will say, it is you have to only call for the meeting, sit in the meeting, do the process has to be made proper. That's all. So you don't have control with the management of the affairs of the corporate debtor. You don't have control on the money. You don't have control on the bank. So that means who you are then? You are only a court officer overseeing the operation. That's all. Okay. So that means the insolvency professional has a role before itself. That is why I want to make this point very clear. Okay. So the declaration, what is that particular form number? Please look at this form number P6. Okay. And another declaration is called P7. So, file a declaration within not exceeding 90 days. So, as specified. So, I am now going for the specified form. Okay, so this is that regulation. Regulation. So, this is a rule. No, regulation is here. This is also regulation is being cut. This is P1, P7. Please look at P7. This is P7. This is P6 first, then P7. Declaration by directors under regulation 16.1. So I'll take you to regulation 16.1, and then this these two declarations is very important. Now, once the directors are convinced, then you have to come for this. Now, what is your 16 regulation 16? It says you have to give two declarations, because that is the regulation where they are very clearly mentioning those two declarations. Please look at this. I said two declarations. Look at the 16. 16. The declaration under P6 and the declaration under P7. Okay, two declarations. So regulation 16.1, regulation 16.2. So what is now P6? So look at P6. So I will give it to the adjudicating authority, stating that these are my names, DIN, address, etc. The corporate debtor shall file within 90 days. Now, why this 90 days? If you cross 90 days, what will happen? Terminated. Terminated, and the IP has to file an application. So this termination is a very unique concept in PPIRP. You wouldn't have seen this concept elsewhere. What do you call it? The concept of termination. Okay. Now, this termination is a concept only in PPIRP. Even before initiation of PPIRP, process can be terminated. After admission, it can be terminated. Resolution plan is not approved, terminated. Okay. You go to my lord and say everything is over, now you give an order. At that time, if it is not proper, it can be terminated. Okay. And there is a section I need to tell, there is a regulation I need to take you call 49.4. The regulation 49.4 reads like this: where no resolution plan is approved by the committee, or where the committee has approved the termination of process, and the committee can even approve the termination even before PPIRP also. No, we don't want this. Why? We'll go. Now, this declaration has to be filed before adjudicating authority. Pre-PAG insolvency resolution process is not being initiated to defraud any person. And creditors have approved the name of the insolvency professional in the meeting of the creditors. This is a very important point. Okay. So, this is the initiation, and declaration has to be filed before my lord. So, my lord will wait for 90 days for you to make an application. And in that application, the report of the insolvency professional also will be there. Okay, very important. Now, what is the second declaration? Very serious declaration. For the first time, I am seeing this. And this is a declaration regarding existence of avoidance transaction. This you have to attach along with the application. Okay. So 16.2, declaration regarding existence of avoidance transaction. Now, what is an avoidance transaction? Preference transaction, undervalued transaction, okay, fraudulent transaction, extortionate credit transaction. Maybe on explaining all these alone will take half an hour to 1 hour. With examples I'll give. These transactions, whether it is there or not. Now, if you say it is not there, for example, corporate debtor has not been subject to any transaction and you sign it. But there are preferential transaction. Take my word. That means you are giving a wrong declaration. Who is giving? The director is giving. So the director who is going to sign this, first of all, he must be taught. He must be taken a session, and all directors first have to be given a proper training. What is called avoidance transaction, preferential transaction. Once he understands that, then he says, "Ayyo, yeah, we have done that." So he cannot give a false declaration. He has to say what is the transaction, whether preferential undervalued, which section, okay, and what is the amount involved, and if it is nothing is there, you have to give nil. So this is very serious declaration. Than P6. At least P6, you are giving a commitment that within 90 days you will file an application before adjudicating authority. Okay. So this is your starting point. Okay. Now, within how many days once the order is initiated? So that means, please look at this logic of this entire PPIRP. Okay. This entire PPIRP, from the declaration, 90 days is given. You have to make an application. From application date, another 90 days you will have for approving the resolution. Starting 90 days, then 90 days. So total 180 days. So your CARP is also 180. PPIRP also 180. In PPIRP, from the date of declaration, 90 days for doing the pre-pack work, base resolution plan work. So all this you do and then get the order. Again 90 days you have. Actually from that order date you have 120 days. Okay. From that order date you have actually 120 days. Where am I? So what is the total time limit? Okay. The total time limit is as per 54D. Look at 54D. The total time limit is 120 days. But before your admission 90 days, you have to make an application. But after admission, you will only have 90 days for the resolution professional to resolve all the process. That 30 days is for my lord. So without prejudice, RP shall submit the resolution plan approved by the creditors within a period of 90 days. Okay. So first 90 days, prepare the pre-pack. Next 90 days, resolve the pre-pack. Okay. Get the approval of the pre-pack or amended pre-pack. Okay. Amended pre-pack. Now what is pre-pack? Okay. So now you got the fair idea. Now what is called pre-pack? So now there is no advertisement. So your bank account will be with you. Your affairs will be with you. Management of the affairs will be with you. Now, please, I'll just share with you 54H. Because this 54H is the, I will say the Mysore Pak, the real sweet of this entire pre-pack. The real the sweetness of the entire pre-pack, the management will feel only when they read 54H. All other they are not interested. They are only interested in this 54H. What is 54H? Please look at this. See, 54H is the management affairs of the corporate debtor. Okay. Management affairs of corporate. Very important section. Okay. During the pre-pack insolvency resolution period. So till the order is done, it is with the management only. During the pre-pack, management of the affairs of the CD shall continue to vest in the board of directors. Okay. Thank God. This is the real relief actually. Okay. The real, I will say, incentive to go for pre-pack. Okay. As the case may be of the corporate debtor, subject to condition. Now what is condition? If at all you are playing mischief, okay. Now, if at all you are playing mischief, what will happen? That will be done by regulation 50. It can be taken over by the committee of creditors by filing an application to adjudicating authority. My lord, the board of directors is mismanaging. So please order for control of the board of directors to resolution professional, suspend the board. This is also that. So that means I have borrowed some of the process from CIRP also. I want to make one very interesting point here. That is the duties, duties of the resolution professional. Okay, so let me take you to the rights and duties. You need to understand the rights and duties of the insolvency professional. Okay, which is a very, very important one. I'll take you to 54F. In this, you will understand one thing. Arey, what is this? You are saying the affairs is with management of the affairs is with management of the corporate debtor is with the board of directors. Then what for the insolvency professional? Okay. Even claim also is not going to verify. He is only going to confirm. Now, how he will going to confirm? That is also very interesting point. So I'll try to share all these stuff one by one. Now I'm going into the technical aspects and also more documentation part of it one by one. Okay, this is the most crucial one. Look at the RP shall perform the following duty. Look at this. Confirm the list of claims. This is there in the regulation also. Even regulation parallelly, I'll show you the regulation with respect to the claims. The regulation number 20. Okay, parallelly you can also have a. So this is your regulation number 20. Sorry. Look at regulation number 20. This is your list of claims. So where they say the resolution professional, okay, what he will do? Corporate debtor will submit the claim. And based on the record, resolution professional shall confirm the details. Okay. The resolution professional shall confirm the details, and which is what is given here also. Where is it? So this is confirming. He will confirm the list of claims. This is in section 54F. He will confirm the list of claims submitted in such manner as may be specified. Inform the creditors. So then the third 23 says he will inform every creditor. So what is there given there? It is given here. Okay, so I will not repeat all these things, but I want to take you to a important point. Okay, please look at this. D. Monitor management of the affairs of the corporate debtor. See, look at the role of RP now. So RP's role has now become overseeing the management of the affairs of the corporate debtor and inform the committee in the event of breach of any of the obligation of the board of directors or the corporate under the provisions of the chapter and rules. This is very, very sensitive, guys, very sensitive. This is where some practical problem will come. RP will say, I want an office, I want to sit there, mail should be copied to me, CC to me, BCC to me. Okay, I want to see the bank account. So without, so every voucher I will also sign. So many aspects will come, I'm telling you. Very interesting aspects also will emerge. The PPIRP is silent about all this. See, how will you monitor the management of the affairs? How will you monitor? Okay, what is called monitor? Okay, and inform the committee in the event of any breach of the obligations. So that means he need to have evidence. Then only he can inform. But once he is informing, then the vesting of management with the resolution professional will start with 54J. Look at 54J. Where the committee of creditors can decide with 66% voting that no, management should be transferred to the resolution professional. Based on this, the resolution professional will make an application to adjudicating authority. Adjudicating authority will order based on all the evidences that. So therefore, that particular place is very important. You have to collect the evidence, give it to the committee of creditors. Committee of creditors can do it, can change it. So that is possible. That is with respect to the management of the affairs. Now, I told you there is a very special thing in PPIRP, which is not there in liquidation, which is not there in CIRP, which is also not there in IRP, individual IRP also it is not there. Individual bankruptcy also it is not there. So, what is that? It is called termination. In between you can terminate. 54N, please look at this. What is 54N? N, termination. Amazing. This is the first time you are going to see this. That means in between you can terminate. Now, what is in between? Where the RP files an application with the adjudicating authority under the proviso of 54K12. So, what is your 54K12? Okay. So, let me now take you to 54K12. This is with respect to resolution plan. Okay. So, let me take you to this. This is your 54K12. The resolution plan selected as a case may be approved by the committee of creditors. Good. Now, what is 54K12? Provided where the resolution plan is not approved, RP shall file an application for termination. This is what is there in your regulation 49.4 also. The same point is there in regulation 49.4 also. Please look at this regulation 49.4. Regulation 49.4 also, please look at this same point. What you are just now see the provision. Look at 49.4. Where no resolution plan is approved by the committee or where the committee has approved no resolution plan, RP shall file an application in P13 for termination. P13 form is called termination form. Now come to this section again. So now I'll take you to 54N. So proviso. Or under 54D subsection 3. The adjudicating authority within 30 days will terminate. So what is 54D subsection 3? Now come to 54D. This is 54D subsection 3. Where no resolution plan is approved by the committee of creditors within the time period, the resolution professional shall on the day after the expiry of the time period file an application with the adjudicating authority for termination of the pre-pack. Okay. Now please understand one thing. This concept of termination will happen only when there is a pre-pack is ordered. Pre-pack is ordered. Now if pre-pack is not ordered, you don't want to file the application at all. Okay, you don't want to file that application. You have lost the opportunity to file the pre-pack. It is by default termination. Please understand the difference. So, they have given the first 90 days, you give a declaration, 90 days you have to make an application. 90 days you are not making an application. That means you cannot ask for a pre-pack. Gone. Bus. Okay. Now, after order of pre-pack, can it be terminated? Yes, you can terminate. When? So, the committee of creditors can decide to terminate before a resolution plan or no resolution plan is approved. Then 49.4 very clearly says, what is 49.4? This is your 49.4. No resolution plan or the committee has approved the termination, RP shall file an application in P13. So this is special. So this concept of termination, so a CARP, can it be terminated? No. CARP says you resolve and then give the resolution plan. If there is no resolution plan, liquidation. So please understand that this part is also very important for the corporates to prefer PPIRP. I will say this is the fourth point, fourth important point. You need to stop this process, go back to normal. It is possible. Who can actually do this? The committee, where the committee has approved the termination process, the RP can file an application. So, committee can do that. Committee can anytime they can terminate. But this is not possible in CARP. In CARP, it is do or die. In PPIRP, do or don't do. It is like go, no go. What is go? There, do or die. In CARP. Here, go or no go. You go, resolve it. No go, you come back. Like before you launch the satellite button, once the button has been pressed, the countdown will begin. Tack, 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 tack. After countdown, rocket has to go. Now, before that, you can actually decide, no, I don't want countdown. I will terminate it. I will entirely abort the process. That is possible. So this is go or no go. So that is available here. This is very unique compared to CAIRB. It is not that. So therefore, these are all the pointers which will actually help the investors, the board of directors to actually, okay, we'll go in this and then we'll resolve it. Okay, good. Now, I am now coming to public announcement. Okay, public announcement, very important. Okay, why? Because this public announcement, you need to understand, will you actually give a paper advertisement? No. Please look at this. The RP shall make the public announcement within 2 days. How will he make advertisement? It will be in form number P9. Okay. Sent to every creditor, listed in form P2. That means all creditors. This announcement will be sent to all financial creditor, operational creditor, other creditors, even sent to information utilities and publish on website of the corporate debtor if any, and also publish on the website of the Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India. Are we announcing in newspaper? No. So, but it is a format. That format you have to take a printout and you have to send it. So, send it to every creditor in form P2. Now, how will you send it? Okay. So, their details will be provided. The details of the creditors will be provided, and that is what is given in form P2. So, that is why you need to go through this P2 form, which is quite interesting. Please look at this. So, this is your P2. Name of the creditor, amount of claim, percentage of claim. And apart from this, the contact details, the email ID, the what you call address, everything has to be given. Whether you will send the, what do you call it, as the public announcement by email or by physically you have to hand it over. This particular part is not there. Okay. So my view is both you have to do it. So there are, when you are practically you are implementing all this, many aspects will come. Many aspects will come, I'm telling you. So one of the very interesting regulations that has been brought out, and now after public announcement, I am going to form number 1, because this form number 1 is going to be the most interesting aspect in your entire PPIRP. Now let me go to PPIRP form number 1. Now in this form number 1, what and all you have to give? Please look at this. 16 annexures you have to give. What are the annexures? In case of financial debt, the record of default obtained through information utility. Okay. In case of operational debt, the copy of the invoice or demand notice or by operational creditor. Then approval of the creditors under 54A to E of the code for appointment of proposed insolvency professional. This is the point I said in the declaration is the starting point. In the declaration itself, please look at this. So your 54A, I started with the word called declaration. After declaration, the name of the insolvency professional proposed and approved to be appointed by the resolution professional under class E. Okay. Now, what is this name of the insolvency professional proposed and approved? Now, who will propose and who will approve? Please look at E here. The financial creditors of the corporate debtor, not being related parties. Now, look at that form number P2. Where is form number P2? This is here. Look at form number P2. Your financial creditor unrelated. These people only. They only have to decide. Financial creditor related, they cannot decide. Okay. So, financial creditors who are not related, that means unrelated, representing such a number as may be specified, that is 66%. Having proposed the name of the IP, who will proposing? Financial creditor only they will propose. To be appointed as RP for conducting the pre-pack, and the financial creditors of the corporate debtor not being related party, representing not less than 66% in value of the financial debt due to such creditors, have approved that proposal. So this has to be given in this form. Where is the form? This is the approval of the creditors. Now creditors, two approval has to be given. One approval is for appointment of the proposed insolvency professional. Now what this proposed insolvency professional will do? Please look at this. Yeah, I have to get the written consent before appointing him, and report of the insolvency professional proposed to be appointed as insolvency professional as set out in P8. He has to give that form number P8. This is a very, very important form. Please look at that form number. P8. In this P8, I am going to discuss some few points. Because I am proposed for appointment as RP. I have sought and obtained all the information and explanation to the best of my knowledge and belief, and I have examined the relevant documents of the status, and I hereby confirm that it is a micro, small and medium enterprise. You are only confirming. So that means you need documents. Do you need an audited statement? Now they will say, no sir, we don't have an audited statement. Then you say, you go and get it certified from a chartered accountant. Okay. I hereby confirm that. So please look at this. So many areas, okay, where the role of CS are there. I am going to unravel one by one. CD has not undergone pre-pack, pakka. CD is not undergone, as not undergoing as ARP. These are all the basic conditions. No liquidation order has been made. Majority of the directors have made a declaration in form P6 of 54A2, which has to be attached. Okay. And the members of the corporate debtor have passed a special resolution of 3/4. Now please understand, this is a fundamental requirement in this, but you have to, without this report of the insolvency professional, the application cannot be filed. Okay. The member of the corporate debtor has passed a special resolution, okay, for filing the applications or initiating CRP. Now, one, the creditor has to approve. Second, special resolution has to be done. Third, creditors of the corporate debtor representing that 66% approved the appointment of resolution professional. Okay. So the majority of directors have declaration, and that is attached here. Okay. And the members of the corporate debtor have passed the special resolution. Creditors of the corporate representing have approved the proposal for appointment. Okay. So this is very important. Now, there is a very interesting question I want to put to everybody. Should this be filed before adjudicating authority? This P6. P6 says to the adjudicating authority date, okay, declaration. Should it be filed anywhere? Okay. It should, this particular declaration should be given. But should it be filed? It is to the declaration to the adjudicating authority. Okay. The corporate has filed pre-pack, has not been initiated to defraud. Creditors have approved the name of insolvency process, etc. The details of the corporate debtor registered office, estimated time of filing the application with adjudicating authority for initiating pre-pack. Contents of the declaration are true and correct, and we are concealed nothing, and no part of this is false. So this is these two to be signed by all the directors mentioned in point number 1. Wow, good. So this, while filing form 1, this declaration should be there. This declaration should have been given 90 days before. Okay. So that means they have 90 days. They cannot give before 90 days, earlier than 90 days. Lesser than 90 days they can give this declaration. So that means this declaration cannot be predated, and it is the responsibility of the resolution professional. Okay. Whose head that? So this need not be the responsibility of the adjudicating authority. It is the responsibility of the IP. Please note down. Okay. So now come to the IP again. The report. Okay. So the creditors have approved the proposal, and the majority of the debtors have made a declaration. Okay. So these are all I hereby confirm. I hereby confirm. So verification is done by IP. So this is his responsibility. Please note down. Okay. There are certain things I cannot tell openly in this forum. Good. The creditors of the corporate debtor representing, that is what percentage of that, let us say 66%, have approved the proposal for initiation of the pre-pack insolvency resolution process in respect of the corporate debtor as required in 54A3. So now the creditors, two things they have to do. One, they have to approve the resolution professional, insolvency professional. Second, they only have to approve the initiation of the pre-pack. Wow. But before initiation, the corporate debtor has to give to the our financial creditors, the creditors that is unrelated creditors. Okay. Now come to 54A3, what they have to give. Okay, very important. Here I am bringing the base resolution plan. Okay. So 54A3, A3. The corporate debtor shall obtain approval from its financial creditors, 66%, okay, unrelated parties, okay, for filing an application for initiating, provided the corporate debtor does not have any financial creditors, the approval shall be provided by the person as may be specified, that is operational creditors, okay. So they only have to approve this 66%. Now, I am bringing to a very, very important point here. Prior to seeking approval, declaration has to be given to them. Okay. Special resolution has to be shown. Base resolution plan has to be given. Now, what is base resolution plan? See, I have borrowed 75 lakhs. I can pay only 68 lakhs. 7 lakhs I cannot pay. So it is God's account, Govinda. So please resolve and ensure that I am debt free. This is what is possible. And how I am going to materialize the 68 lakhs, I am giving the process, how long it will take, when I will settle. Like this, you have to give a plan. And this plan confirms to the requirement referred to in 54K and such other condition as may be specified. That means what are the contents of the resolution plan, the mandatory contents of the resolution plan. And I want to make one observation here. So resolution plan and base resolution plan, is it both different? Actually, it is not different. Both are same only. Before the PPIRP starts, you should have a plan. You should have an intention to settle. And that you have to submit to the creditors. And creditors should agree for it. That is why it is called pre-pack. That is pre-planned, well-planned. The word is called well-planned. So pre-pack, well-planned. So, and that has to be approved for your information. So then it will be the corporate debtor approves it. And this should be, please look at this. The approval of the creditors for filing this application. This should be annexure number 7. And I will also take you to the report of the RP, report of the IP, sorry. Report of the IP. The report of the IP say, this is form number P8, report of the IP. It doesn't say RP. Why? Because after appointment only he is an RP. Till appointment he is only IP only. So I hereby confirm that the creditors of the corporate debtor have approved the proposal initiation of pre-pack in form P4. That means the base resolution plan has been given to them. This declaration has been given to them. Okay, that what do you call special resolution has been approved. Then only they have taken a decision. So the creditors, and I have confirmed it. It has been done. It is not paper. It is not document. It has been verified that all the process has been done. The amount of default is within the limit. What is the limit? About 10 lakhs. Okay. Amount of default incurred by the corporate debtor. So it is not with one particular financial creditor. Kul milke total. I have examined the base resolution plan. Please look at this. Actually, base resolution plan is given to the creditors and they only approve it. But here you have examined, provided to creditors, and hereby confirm that it complies with section 31 and 2 of the section in part 2. Okay. So that is with respect to the condition with respect to a normal resolution plan. 54K of the code. Okay. And that is the contents of your resolution plan. You have to say it confirms with it. This is very serious. And normally your work will start only after in CIRP, after appointment by the adjudicating authority. But here your work starts even before appointment. Even before appointment. Okay. And who actually appoints you? The financial creditor. So PPIRP, for your information, I am sure there will be lot of sub panels, empanelment henceforth with the banks having localized, district-wise, state-wise panels with respect to insolvency professionals across length and breadth of the country to actually propose and this particular report is going to be your first fees. You are going to bear first fees. My view is you have to take the fees, then only you have to sign this report of insolvency profession. No, 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 let this be, let the application go, let the adjudicating authority approve that application, admit the application. This report of the insolvency professional is going to be very, very, very crucial. And what are all the documents you must have, how you have to verify those documents. And my view is the insolvency professional agencies, three insolvency professional agencies, the ICSI IPA, ICMA IPA, and ICA IPA, they have to now come forward and come out with guidance note on the how the report of the insolvency professional have to be given, where the first time such a reports have come. So good friends, I am sure I have to the extent possible presented before you the significant aspects of the PPIRP. I'll now be open for some questions. And those of you who wish to actually, I will only take another 5 to 10 minutes time. So I request all the participants to be online and 1 minute. Sorry. Yeah. So I'll just take the questions one by one. So Sundar Hegde, is it possible for the participants to unmute themselves and ask questions? Sir, you said the termination is not possible in regular CARP, but
If
application.
they want, we can unmute them, and if they raise hand, yes, Manish can allow them to speak. If it is time is permit.
Sir, Sundar Hegde, your question is correct. Actually, it is not called termination, it is called withdrawal of application. Okay, so I agree with you. Okay, so you yourself has mentioned it is withdrawal. So only point what I want to say is there is no concept called termination there. Can you please share Murli Mohan, P. Murli Mohan, what is the step-by-step process? I just now told you, first step is declaration. First step is declaration, and parallelly, once the declaration is over, that is step number 1, you need to get the approval from your committee of creditors for a proposed insolvency professional, and 66% of the committee of creditors, they have to approve it. So what is the step number 1? Declaration. Okay. Step number 2, you have to have a meeting with, that means even before PPIRP, your first meeting with your committee of creditors is for proposing an insolvency professional with 66% voting rights. So then third, once he has been appointed, you have to get the, what do you call it as, the report from him. But if you have to get a report from him, many things you have to do. What are the things? You need to get the approval from the committee of creditors for application for initiation. That if you have to get it, you have to prepare a resolution plan. So step number 1 is declaration. Step number 2, IP. Step number 3, base resolution plan. So this base resolution plan, without that, you cannot go for approval. And without approval, you cannot prepare the report of the insolvency profession. So this is the fundamental 5 steps. So contents of the base resolution plan, how different is it from RP under CR? Pankaj Jain, can you unmute yourself and speak, please? I want to hear everybody. So
Raise hand so that Manish or Suraj, who is there? Manish, Suraj, ITT. Hello.
I think they are not there.
Sleeping or what? Manish.
You will have to unmute.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Unmute.
Yeah. Please unmute Pankaj Jain. We wish to hear Pankaj Jain.
Okay, one second.
So there are other questions. If PPIRP is terminated, can CRP be initiated? Yes. That is Vanita Agarwal. You can also unmute Vanita Agarwal after Pankaj Jain. Ravi Shankar Devarakonda, which is better for CD, pre-pack or Section 10 application? Wow, good question actually. This is IP we cannot decide. Only the corporates can decide.
Pankaj sir can speak
Yes,
now.
yes. So, my question, Dr. Gopal.
Pankaj Bhai, very good evening.
Sir. Yeah, good evening, sir.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. So, Pankaj Jain, I'm a qualified insolvency professional. I haven't taken up any CIRP engagements, but I've been involved in a whole host of CIRP engagements on both the COC advisory as well as the process advisory, which was a resolution applicant search and concluding the process. Till about a year back, I used to be a director in the financial advisory practice of Duff and Phelps, which is a large American investment bank and advisory firm. I was based in Bombay. Some of the notable IBC engagements that I was involved in were Cox and Kings, Uttam Galva, Lavasa Corporation, Emco Transformers, to name a to
Very
name
good,
a
very
few.
good. So nice,
Started
so
my
nice, so
practice in
nice.
Bangalore.
We are very fortunate to hear you. And can you, what is your question, Pankaj Bhai?
Yeah, question was how different are the contents of a base resolution plan under PIRP from the CIRP?
Wonderful question, Pankaj Bhai. My view, I will submit. I
Yeah.
don't see a fundamental difference between base resolution plan and the resolution plan. First of all, we should not distinguish it like that. My view is this is also a resolution plan. Resolution plan after initiation, there you have to go to committee of creditors for approval. Here also, the base resolution plan, you take it to committee for approval. So my view is don't distinguish between a base resolution plan. Base resolution plan is inferior and resolution plan is superior. No, my view is both are same. The only thing is it has to go to with this all these papers only it has to go to my lord. My lord, you have to say, my lord, already we have a plan. We have already got the approval of COC. So kindly give us a permission. Within 90 days, we will settle ourselves. This is that means you already made the preparation. So the logic is after CIRP order, you make a preparation for 180 days. That 180 days I have cut into two. 90 days you prepare. Come here and then approve the. So that is why the days are all cut short, top, cut short. So my view is don't distinguish kindly between base resolution plan and resolution plan. Whatever significance you are going to give a resolution plan, the mandatory contents, everything will apply for a base resolution plan also. Thank you very much, Pankaj Bhai. Any other question we'll also hear from
Sir, one point to add here. I mean, since in PIRP, the MSME promoters, slash directors are, encouraged to, have a resolution plan, restructure their liabilities and continue. My question was, would they be allowed, a fair amount of flexibility and leniency in the system, like under the June 19 circular, some part of the debt can be written off as unsustainable, and whether their personal guarantees will not apply on the unsustainable debt. And also, secondly, if the, promoters resolution plan is not accepted and there is some competing resolution plan accepted, then would the personal guarantees be enforced like we are seeing in the normal CIRP engagements?
My view is we already have got a very superb ruling by Lalit Jain Court, the recent decision of the Honorable Supreme Court. They made it very clear this personal guarantee is an independent contract between the guarantor and the lender. So therefore, if there is any in the resolution plan, any shortage is there, lender will be at will to implement, to actually enforce the personal guarantee. Now here, the base resolution plan, you have to make a request to the financial creditor. See, this is what I can do. This should be full and final settlement. All the documents what I have given, please return it to me, including cancellation of the personal guarantee. This should be the base resolution plan request. Now he will say, no, this request I don't agree. Part I will agree, part I don't. You have to sit and make him convince. What you are going to do in your post CARP in the table, that you are going to do here without an advertisement, with the bank account in your control, everything you are going to do here. So therefore, all these you can do it. All these you can do, but post CARP, that control will not be there. Here it is there. So therefore, you will be at a better negotiating part. So very good point what you raised, Pankaj Bhai. I must really appreciate you. You have a lot of.
Sir, I'm Ravi Shankar.
Can you introduce yourself, please, Ravi Shankar?
Sir, I'm Ravi Shankar Devarkonda, sir, a chartered accountant and insolvency professional practicing from Bangalore.
Very good, very good.
Sir, my doubt is
popular name in Andhra Pradesh. Very good.
No, that is Vijay Devarkonda is different, sir. Okay, sir. In my case, actually, I got an inquiry from one of my known person, promoter. He wanted me to. He was asking me which is better. First thing I asked him is that what is the default amount? Is it less than 1 crore, more than 1 crore? Because if it is less than 1 crore, still you can do PPIRP, because 10 lakhs is the limit there. Whereas he needs to get at least 1 crore in the normal Section 10 application. Then second question I asked him is that, are you willing to prepay all the operational creditors? Because if there is any shortfall in operational creditors, again, it will not be accepted by UNA. We have to take the approval of operational creditors, which will not come. It will go into CRP. So these two questions I asked him. Is apart from these two, is there any, whichever is, these are the two which I could think of at that time. Is there anything else that I can suggest him, saying that Section 10 is better? Because Section 10, okay, control is going to the IRP, but still he can have a haircut of financial creditor, he can have a haircut on the operation creditors, and so many other security statutory dues also can be waived off. All those benefits he'll get under Section 10, which is not getting under this pre-approved pre-package IRP.
Actually, my view is, you have to tell the advantages of PPIRP and the advantages of CARP. Let the businessman his wisdom, because the circumstances, I will just share with you some interesting pointers. The provision says, the regulations and the code says you need to mandatorily have only meeting with financial creditors. Does the law prohibit you not to have meeting with operational creditors? No. You can also have, and like how you are convincing financial creditors, you also convince operational creditors. Now, restructuring doesn't mean you only have to settle it immediately. You can also say, I'll settle it over a period of time. Give me time. I will settle 40%, 60% I'll settle over a period of 6 months or 1 year or 1.5 years. That is also restructuring. So we need to actually think. So businessman is the right guy. He only can actually, he will be in the that he will be in the right pedestal to actually understand which will be more balancing for him to go for. But the only thing is, we need to give him the proper clarity, that the difference between Section 10 application, because once Section 10 is gone, is implemented, they will not be, take my word, out of 10 business MSMEs, you ask them, 10 out of 10 will say, Section 10, we are not for it, we are only for PPIRP.
Okay. Okay. Because my doubt in that, when I was talking to him, what I was telling him also is saying that Section 10, you'll get a waiver from the statutory dues, all those things.
We are wrong. Waiver, we cannot say, law also doesn't say waiver will be given. It will be decided by the committee of creditors, because they are the lenders. So therefore, when the committee decides in CARP, why not they decide here? They also can decide. When the financial creditors, they agree for a 20% haircut, you call operation creditors also, you convince them. Does the law restrict you not to convene operation creditors meeting? It is not mandatory, but you can also have a discussion with them. So pre-pack means you are well prepared.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So we'll have maybe one more last question from Ashutosh Balar Singh. Ashutosh Balar Singh, kindly unmute for Mr. Ashutosh. We'll hear from Ashutosh.
Good evening, Raju ji.
Where's Ashutosh Bhai? Aapka,
See, after
please.
meeting, after 15 days, we are meeting once again. I'm attending your class.
Okay, okay. So aapka introduction kijiye for the benefit of the friends here.
See, I am a management graduate, do the corporate debt syndication. I'm from Mumbai. Now I'm a registered professional. So just I'm planning, just started my empowerment with the different banks. So
Okay.
I'm hopeful by June first week, I'll able to become empowerment with some bankers. in
Okay,
Bombay.
okay. So what is your question?
My question is that, there's some, just like that, one client called me. Then I told you have to pay my fees. Well, no, you have to take from the bank. That's the first part. That's the thing I have to know. If the pre-package starts, corporate data says you take the money from the bank, not from me.
No, no. I'm not clear with your question.
See, if
What
I
is
take
your-
the assignment of the pre-packaging,
Uh,
okay, this
Uh.
corporate data has approached me.
okay.
So then I started again negotiate my fees. But no, the
Uh.
fees you have to take from the bank, not from me.
Okay.
Then like, how come the bank will give you? I'll be doing all the restructuring for you, not from for the bank.
Okay.
Bank will take the
What is,
approval.
no, what discussion chhod dijiye. What is the question?
Question: who will give the fees?
Fees only the pre-pack. How can you ask fees from the financial creditor? You are going the report of the. You are going to give a report as an insolvency professional. Yes or no?
Yes,
Are you going to charge fees for that?
yes,
Yes. Now that report will be taken by whom?
by me, other corporate debtors,
And he will only attach that in his application.
right,
He will only file it to the adjudicating authority.
right,
So it is his responsibility to get a report from you.
yes.
So then he has to only pay fees to you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Usually, sir,
Matter settled. Matter settled. Matter over. Next question. Next question.
The next question is that after the introduction bad bank, all of the transfer all the NPS to the bad bank, what is the role of RPs?
No, I'm not clear with your question. What is called bad
See,
bank here?
Here all the like State Bank is transferring all the NP to the new RCL. The new bank is coming up.
Okay, so ARC, yeah, they are selling their receivables to ARCs. Am I right? That is your point.
Yes. Then
Okay.
the role of RPs will reduce, or what is the future of the RPs?
It is only from State Bank of India. It is going to an asset reconstruction company. Asset
Yes.
reconstruction company has to again recover. No, they become financial creditor. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
It is only nameplate is changed. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
So I must say, any other questions? I am welcome, and maybe I'll again hand over back to chairman of Bangalore branch for his
If some more questions are there in that chat box.
chat box. It is there.
Yeah.
Okay. After Ashutosh, can
We have
resolution,
another 10 minutes.
okay, can resolution plan have provision to make lesser payment of taxes? Vanita Agarwal, we will unmute Vanita Agarwal. We'll hear from her what she is intent to ask. We'll hear from Vanita Agarwal. So very good evening.
Good evening,
Hello.
sir.
Very good evening, Vanita Agarwal.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Aapka
Yeah,
introduction कीजिए, please, for the benefit of the members here.
Yeah, sir, I am a insolvency professional and I also took your classes earlier also. Sir, my question is, in case of PIRP, is it possible that in base resolution or resolution plan, can the corporate debtor say like reduction in payment of taxes to government authorities, like what he can say in case of other financial or operational creditor? So is it possible for him to see reduction, that he can pay only 5 lakhs instead of 7 lakhs to tax authorities?
Who can decide this? You mean to say corporate debtor?
Yeah, because the resolution plan will be prepared by the corporate debtor only. So in that resolution plan, can he say this?
Oh, this is, you tell me whether this is fair or unfair. You forget about tax department. The company has to pay Vanitha Agarwal 7 lakhs. Now the company says, I'll only pay 5 lakhs. You tell from your bottom of your heart, is it fair or unfair?
If suppose I feel the condition of the company is not that good, and if suppose it's better to accept 5 lakhs instead of 7 lakhs, and if suppose I'm getting the amount within a year instead of waiting for some 5-7 years, so I may choose to get lesser amount and come out
Very
with that.
good. Then go and sit with the operational creditor, convince him. Please go and convince them. That is restructuring. Like how you are convincing financial creditors, you also convince operational creditors. So the law says, since the decision making is only with financial creditors, operation creditor pay full. If you want to give a haircut also to them, you go and convince them also. This is the biggest challenge here. So it is also there in CARP. It is also there in CARP. So you cannot take such an arbitrary stand. No, not possible.
Okay, only with the consent of the concerned creditor.
No need for a consent at all. There is no need for a consent. Operation creditor, you have to provide 100%. If you are not providing 100%, you need to go to you go by you first of all go to your financial creditor, say I will pay 100% and prove to them that you have that capacity to pay. If you are not having capacity to pay 100%, you can only pay 70% or 60%. Your base resolution plan itself will not be accepted by the financial creditor. Second, your financial creditor will ask you a question. If operation creditor, how can you say take 30% reduction discount they will take? So you need to get individual letters from all the operation creditors that they are ready for 30% discount. No other choice. All the homework you have to do. This is called restructuring. So therefore, Vanitha Agarwal ji, that was a lot of work for professionals to do restructuring, to give a plan and do a lot of homework behind, to have a offline meeting with operation creditors, online meeting with financial creditors. Everything is there.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So all the questions are answered. I will now hand over back to Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We had a superb session. All the queries also you have answered. I'm sure all the participants enriched from these sessions. So thank you very much, sir. So on behalf of Bangalore branch and on behalf of all the participants, wholehearted thanks to CA Dr. Gopal Krishna Raju. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll meet again.
Thank you, Chairman. Right.
Thank you. Okay, friends, tomorrow income tax session is there. You can join. Thank you. Good night.